What is a credit union? It's a cooperative, like a food co-op or a housing co-op, but the members share money. Credit unions offer the same services you'll find in a bank, but they're different from banks. First, credit unions are owned by their members, and credit unions are not for profit. Any money the credit union makes goes right back to the members in the form of low fees and good rates. To learn more, you can go to STCU's blog at stcumoney.org.
Spokane listens when business talks. Welcome to Business Talks, the region's only local business radio talk show with your host, Kent Adams. Business Talks is brought to you in part by STCU. Now, let's get down to business with Business Talks.
Well, welcome. Kent Adams here. It's been a couple weeks since we've done Business Talks, and pleased to have a lady of many hats. And I'm not sure which hat you're wearing today. Megan Garrett, how are you?
I'm good, Kent. Thank you. And today, yes, I do have many hats, but today I'm here in my Startup Spokane hat.
Okay, I wondered.
Yes, and I'm representing a big event that the entrepreneurial community is putting on.
Okay, and it's coming up pretty soon, too.
Pretty soon, a week from today.
Okay, and today, because sometimes people listen to this as a podcast, is the 8th of September. So we're talking
Correct.
about the 15th of September.
Correct.
For this event. And what might this event be?
So this event is called the Triangle Venture Expo.
Okay.
And so it will happen on Thursday, September 15th, as we said, with an opening reception the evening prior on Wednesday, September 14th. And this event is being put on in conjunction with a couple of big organizations. So Startup Spokane, as we know, is the entrepreneurial program of Greater Spokane Incorporated.
Right.
Startup Spokane and Greater Spokane Incorporated are working together to put this program on. With the Spokane Angel Alliance, which is a group, for people who don't know, of about 150 investors here in Spokane who do just that. They invest in local startups.
And good ideas.
Yep, they invest in great ideas, great businesses, great entrepreneurs, and they really have come together to build a strong angel investment culture and community here in our area.
Now, why is that important? Why is it important to have these angel investors?
That's really important because that's one of the key components to building a thriving entrepreneurship ecosystem.
Because so many are underfunded to get started, aren't
Exactly.
they? Yeah.
And angel funding is a really crucial bridge between kind of I'm bootstrapping and I'm kind of kicking my own money in to get this idea off the ground to start my business, and my business is ready to put in front of a venture capitalist.
Okay.
There's this kind of funding gap in between. And that's where an angel investor steps in and says, okay, you've kind of exhausted what you can do on your own. You've depleted your funds, but the business, you know, it's a viable option. It's shown some really great progress. Maybe you have a minimum viable product or a couple of customers. You've got some initial revenue. You've got some traction.
Okay.
There's something here that's sticking, but you're not quite ready yet for venture funding. And so they bridge that gap and help you get from step A to step C, really. And so the Spokane Angel Alliance, the leadership of that group said there's so many great success stories of startups that have started in Spokane and in our entrepreneurial region, and they have grown, they're thriving, they're emerging, they are ready for venture capital. Some of them have raised venture capital. They have great growing numbers of employees, growing numbers of companies. They're selling internationally. We want to highlight the successes that are happening here in our region because so few people really know what's happening, really know what's going on.
The only time you do is when they get big enough that it becomes really public. And a lot of times these companies are selling to other companies, and it's not a public kind of thing. You know, it's a business to business. I've got this widget that goes as part of this over here, and it's not something you go to Kmart to buy or the grocery store or whatever. So we don't hear about them sometimes.
That's right.
They are job producers, aren't they?
They are. And so what the Triangle Venture Expo will do, and we've called it the Triangle for a very strategic purpose.
3 sides.
Yes, and it lays over a map regionally. And what we want to do is highlight the regional area. So this triangle really encompasses the regional area of Sandpoint,
Okay.
down to kind of the Moscow, Pullman, Lewiston, Clarkston Valley.
Right,
That would make the back and kind of the bottom side, and then up through Spokane, Cheney, Medical Lake.
Okay.
So that's really the region that we're incorporating. And so we have within that region 12 companies that we've chosen to highlight at the expo.
Oh, fun.
So it will be a showcase of 12 of those success stories from that region.
Okay.
And between these 12 companies, they employ more than 1,000 people.
Oh, wow.
And because, like you said, they're traditionally business to business.
Yes.
And yes, they're doing products. They're building products. They're manufacturing. They're selling. And they're delivering services. But a lot of times it is B2B. The consumer market might not be aware of it. And so we've got each of these 12 companies has customers in their distribution pipeline that are some of the top 5 retailers in the world.
Okay.
And so what we want to do is bring awareness to that and say
Sure.
to people, this is what's happening in our region, and this region is an amazing place to start a company if you're here. Come here and start a company if you're looking for a place to do that. But not just start a company, grow it, expand it, and then keep it here as your headquarters as you grow into an international company.
Right. And we've seen, unfortunately, some cases where the local companies grow and then they get bought out and then they get closed because they consolidate. And it really is about growing local business and small business. We can talk until we're hoarse in our voice about trying to bring in all these businesses across the country to Spokane, Washington. But the fact is that when we grow area things, regional things here, we have a really good future and local jobs and local ownership and all the things that go with that. You probably know Larry Soren from Kimley Haygood, and he says, Ken, I know when things are going well because our best leases are for 500 square feet. That's where things start.
Yep.
They can put a couple of folks in there, develop things, and kind of go from there. It's not about leasing out the 20,000 square feet because those sometimes come and go. It's about the 500 square feet because that's where things start.
Yep, and I think that's what you'll see. So what's exciting about the expo is that each of the 12 companies started right there, and they started right there in this region, and they went from that 500 to the 20,000 square feet, and they have these big presences now, and they continue to grow. And a lot of the companies will present, and the focus really and kind of the content of their discussion will be, of course, the standard, here's what our company is, here's what we do, here's how we do it and why we do it and for whom. But a lot of the focus will also be on why we choose to do it here and what is the competitive advantage of being in this region.
Right.
And we will have also a couple of keynote addresses that will sort of bookend that theme. So the morning will start with a keynote by Stacy Coles, obviously president of the Coles Company.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, you've heard of him. He's the big sponsor I know of Spokane Talks Online. And and so he'll kind of talk a little bit just about the kind of the feel of the business environment here.
Yes.
But then our lunch keynote will be Josh Niblett, who is the co-founder of eTails.
Okay, yes.
And eTails is a story just like that, right?
Yes.
Started out of a great idea out of a local business plan competition.
Right, at GU.
At GU, yep.
Right.
Started and grew, got some funding from Spokane Angel Alliance.
Right.
And really grew into a very large employer with a really big...
Who are continuing to expand as we talk right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
And staying here. And Tom Simpson, who's the president of the Spokane Angel Alliance, is also the co-founder of eTails. And both Tom and Josh really talk about what the competitive advantage is for having stayed in this region.
Right. And what are you hearing from them? What are a couple of things? What have they told you?
The competitive advantages?
Yes.
So it's actually funny. So Tom and I were actually just filming a segment this morning that will air on Sunday for Invest Northwest, where Tom was really just talking about that. And he said, if we had taken eTails and we'd put it in Seattle or Portland or Boise, and not that there's anything wrong with those markets, but if we'd taken that company and the culture they wanted to build, instead of building it here in the region of our area that we want to focus on, they would have had to fight for employment resources and labor resources and capital resources. Whereas here in our region, that triangular region we spoke about, 8 colleges and universities that deliver thousands upon thousands of educated, highly talented, highly motivated
good workers,
college workers. Exactly. Yeah. And they want to live here because they can take risks. They can be part of a startup, and the risk is relatively low because the cost of living is low here.
Yes,
and they still have access to a lot of great things. So there's labor, and that's part of it. There's the education pool that you can pull from, not just for getting the graduates, but
we are a college town. When 10 or 12 or 15% of our residents in the Spokane area attend higher education. I mean, we really are. We don't think of it that way because we have, luckily, several great universities from private, I think of Whitworth and Gonzaga, then Eastern, and the community colleges, which are a tremendous way to get started in your higher education in terms of cost and everything else. And
then you have to take the region farther when you come down to WSU and to U of I, because they are also great entrepreneurial schools as well, and they turn out a lot of startups and a lot of commercialization as well. And it's not just the talent that comes out of the universities, it's the partnership that startups and growing and expanding businesses can have with the university, where a class project can help them develop an idea or research can be done in an effective way. So that's another benefit. Another benefit is it's easy to live here. You don't live in your car, right? So I know a lot of people talk about, you can live in a bigger city and have a lot of that amenity, but
and pay a couple $1,000 a month for a small little flat,
right? Exactly, what I mean? For a studio, and then you spend 3 hours a day in a car. So there's a lot of benefit to living here, and so the workforce wants that. There's also a growing and thriving entrepreneurial ecosystem. So our community supports the entrepreneurs who want to grow these companies and start these companies and build them into what we hope most of them will become, which are the 12 companies that we're showcasing today.
I find it interesting in talking with Larry Soren, because he's the incoming board chair, or whatever the exact title is, of GSI. And we've had a couple conversations in the last few months. And I love his talk because he's talking more now about business development and business growth than just economic development. Because when you really come down to it, that's what economic development is. I mean, yes, it's the tourists that come to town and all of that. But I'm glad we're starting to move to call it what it is, which is business development. That's the company that has 10 employees that could be 25. Okay, it's the startup of one or two people who are trying to, with their savings and their parents' savings and their neighbors and everything else, to get something going. And you look at Steve from Avista and what Avista does, what you do in terms of your own company and your involvement in startup and GSI. You're right. We really have the right attitude, and so much of it is attitude. Because if you don't believe you can, you're not going to even try.
Right.
Okay. And we know businesses fail. I mean, but if you have 10 that try and 6 or 7 of them are successful and continue to grow, that's new jobs. That's new taxes. That's all of that goes with that. And that's really so important.
It is. And I think what you see is, if 10 start up and 6 or 7 are successful, because we have built the ecosystem that we have to support entrepreneurship through Startup Spokane and through the different resources that exist here in the community, and the things that Todd Mielke and his board are doing at GSI to really kind of, from startup through expansion, through retention, through economic development, and kind of to build that out to really build a thriving business climate where economic development happens.
There's more success.
There's more success first, and then second, we can capture those 2 or 3 that didn't succeed.
Right.
Find out why, and then connect them into the resources that maybe they missed on that first pass.
And it's usually
and help them
funding.
Succeed again.
It's usually capital, isn't it? It often is,
Sometimes it's capital, but sometimes it's maybe they didn't connect with a mentor, and so now we have a mentor network that we can offer them through startups.
Or they've got a great idea, a mechanical idea or whatever it may be, but they don't understand the marketing. They don't understand some of the other kinds of things, because usually we're really pretty good in one area. You might be great in marketing and I'm not. I might be a great finance person. I mean, that's opposite because I'm not. But I mean, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so for startup and GSI and what you do and so forth, I think is so important, because with someone holding their hand and going, attaboy, or let me bring in a Larry Soren to talk to you, or whoever it might be, their chance of success is much greater.
It is. And then also it's important, some of them should fail because some of them aren't good ideas, or some of them aren't a sustainable idea.
Well, welcome to the marketplace.
Exactly.
I mean,
but then we can also say to them, with a few tweaks or some minor adjustments, or maybe a pivot, which is our favorite word in entrepreneurship, we'll again connect you to the right resources, or maybe the things you missed on that first pass.
Pivot versus going back and start over a person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then we'll get you ready for capital. And because we have the Spokane Angel Alliance, and because we have things like this expo that we're putting together and offering on the 15th of September, they'll have access to some of those resources, and then be better equipped to succeed a second time around with a new idea or a different iteration of the first. And so with that important topic of capital that you bring up, Kent, that's one of the things that we're really trying to, through this event, build out in our region. Okay. So the event obviously is to showcase and to highlight the successes, but it's not just to do it for our regional players. One of the things we really want to focus on is to bring in people from Seattle, from Portland, from Boise, from down into, maybe into the California region, and we've invited them in to say, come and see this event, come and participate in this event. So we've invited investors and venture capitalists and people involved in the startup financing and funding scene to come and see this example that we're providing of the successes and what's happening here in Spokane. And
chances are that will help bring additional capital to the region when they start to see, okay, we can do it a lot cheaper here. And, it's $100,000 funding instead of what might be $500,000 in California, or whatever it might be.
Exactly, because the overhead is less here.
Yeah.
And then, so they'll see that cross section, but then hopefully we'll also maybe get people who attend the event who are thinking, I want to start another business, or I'm looking for that next place to locate my business. And they'll see, again, back to that economic development part that GSI really works toward, they'll see that this is an attractive region to do that. And so they'll bring in those companies that are going to start here and then grow here and turn into these successful companies. So the cross section really of the audience will be entrepreneurs, companies that are presenting, the people who work for the companies, the regional entrepreneurship community, but then also that investment in that capital community as well. And then, and we want the local and the regional community to come out and support that as well. So there's still that opportunity for people to come and to get involved and to participate in the event.
Okay, so who should be coming next week?
So anyone who wants to know more about these companies, who wants to be interested in that, and for a full list of the companies that are presenting, they can go to startupspokane.com, and we've got that list right on our homepage.
Right.
To give you just a little snapshot, we've got Risk Lens, which is a cybersecurity digital IT security company. And I love that story because Steve Trebuchet, who founded that company, was told by a Silicon Valley investor, you'll never start a cybersecurity company in Spokane. You'll never grow a large company there, and didn't invest in him. And he did. And now he's growing by leaps and bounds and has built an amazing company. And so he kind of peppers
Does he automatically send a memo to those people down there daily?
I would hope so, but I don't know if he does or not. So he does
but
great
it's
there.
Good isn't it fun to prove some of these quote experts out there that you have to be
somewhere
in
else
Seattle
to do it,
or in San Jose or something? No, and that brings me to the point is we can do almost everything here in Spokane. I mean, we really can.
Yes, we can. And so Risk Lens will be there. Second Watch will be there. We've got a couple of really cool companies doing amazing things in energy, like Hypersciences, Apana. There's a company that's doing amazing things in drilling. So instead of deep earth drilling with a drill, there's kind of basically shooting high explosives into the, so that's really kind of cool. We've got products, like I said, services, Stay Alfred, which is a huge, they are on just an up and to the right
can't keep up
trajectory
with
for
their growth almost.
Absolutely. They were just named to Inc. 500's fastest growing companies in the United States.
Right.
So they'll be there talking.
From Spokane, Washington area.
Spokane, Washington, exactly. Yeah. So we've got just a lot of really great companies. And that full list, like I said, is on startupspokane.com if people want to go and look at that.
So is there a cost to attend?
There is. So there is a $30 cost to attend, and that gets you into the opening reception on Wednesday night, which is from Wednesday night, September 14th from 5 to 7.
Okay.
That will be at the Davenport Grand Hotel.
Okay.
And then that also includes your all day on Thursday, breakfast, lunch, closing reception. And that will happen Thursday, September 15th. Doors open at 7:30. Event goes from 8 to 5, and that's at the Spokane Convention Center.
Okay.
And then
right across the street.
Exactly. But if you are a student of one of our 8 regional colleges or universities, there is a discount, and you can attend for $15.
Ooh.
And so that's Thursday's event only, because with the students, then, the reception has alcohol, so we have to kind of be careful with that.
Sure.
But so students can attend the all-day Thursday event for $15. And on startupspokane.com, there's links to registration, and there's some information there about how do you register specifically as a student using that discount.
Right.
And you can register up through Tuesday, September 13th.
Okay, so they better get on it right away.
Yes, get on it right away. Exactly. So there is just a small cost to attend, but again, it gets you in.
That's cheap. Mm-hmm. I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah.
Inexpensive is probably a better word, but it's cheap.
Yeah.
$30 and $15 for college student, university student. Mm-hmm. And I think about how many ideas can be grown from those $15 attendees, because there's a future there. I mean, the e-tails are not
e-tails. Yep.
E-tails that started as a project at GU, and there are some more Joshes out there who, for $15, can grow a tremendous business in the next 10 years.
Or there are some other great companies where maybe you don't want to be Josh, but you want to be the next marketing guru within a startup, or the next software guru within a startup. And
That's a good point.
For $15, it's a great networking opportunity to meet the people who play in the investment scene and the capital scene and the startup scene. Right. So it's a really great opportunity for students who are just getting back into town, or maybe new into town. This is your first foray, just moved here for college, or maybe you've been here your whole life and you just aren't that connected.
Or they're trying to figure out what's next in their career, because a lot of, I want to call them middle-aged folks, I've gone back to school to get their degree, or to get their advanced degree, to go back to the community college, whatever it might be. And here's an opportunity to connect with a lot of good people. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it might be a networking place for some of the businesses too, to find some people. Yep. It goes both ways.
It is. Yeah. Yep. And so the reception on Wednesday night particularly will be a great networking opportunity. That event is actually, it's kind of a twofer as well. So it's the opening reception of the Venture Expo, but it's the closing reception of the State of the Green Economy event that GSI is hosting. So we're kind of doing a combined.
That's smart.
That group is very entrepreneurial as well. What's happening in the green space, what's going on in, kind of sustainability. And so there's a lot of overlap between those two groups. And so we're having this kind of combined reception. And so you'll get to network with all of those people who are leaving that conference as well at the Davenport Grand on Wednesday, the 14th. And so, you'll kind of get to maximize your networking dollar there as well. And so we're excited to be kind of putting that on together with GSI and then having Thursday's event as well. And like I said, we've got an amazing lineup of speakers. We've got these companies are just a really great testimony to what's happening in our region. And so startupspokane.com has all the registration information, all the information about the companies. And I think people are going to be really impressed by what they see, because, the one thing I think is just that I think this will really serve to highlight is that there's so many amazing things happening that people just don't know about.
Right.
And I think if we can just bring it to their attention, they'll sit back and say, wow, I never knew that was happening here. And maybe they'll get fired up, and maybe it will encourage them to say, I could do the same thing. Yeah.
Before we close, let's talk about what other radio program you do with us.
So we do the Startup Spokane podcast here on Spokane Talks Online. And that is obviously for Startup Spokane as well. And we highlight entrepreneurs, and we highlight entrepreneurial things, resources, programs.
Great guests.
Amazing guests.
Yes.
Sometimes we are organized and we do series for people where, it'll
Well, you did this summer. Yes,
we did
you
this
were
summer.
organized.
We did a summer break series where people could get resources while they were out of school, quote unquote, and still be entrepreneurial over the summer break. And sometimes we just kick in a random profile or a really great success story or something fun. And
well, as you know, I sit across the glass listening to these and recording them. And it is. I would urge our listeners to go into Startup Spokane, either the Startup Spokane website or Spokane Talks Online, and we have a section for Startup Spokane in our podcast section, and listen to these because there's some amazing stories. And it makes me very proud to live and work in Spokane with some of the people that you're bringing in from that and what you're doing with Startup Spokane and so forth. But one more time, let's remind folks how they can sign up for this event next week.
So the event is the Triangle Venture Expo. It opens Wednesday, September 14th with an opening reception, 5 to 7, Davenport Grand Hotel. It's all day Thursday, September 15th. Doors open at 7:30, 8 to 5 event with a closing reception at the Spokane Convention Center. And all they have to do is go to startupspokane.com. All of the information is there, and there's a clickable registration link, which will take them to the GSI registration website.
Perfect. Megan Garrett, thank you very much. We need to have you back because you've changed your own company a bit too.
Yes, I have.
To kind of focus in a little bit more with startups and so forth. So we'll talk about that in a separate program. But thank you for
another
coming
of
in.
my mini hats.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kent.
Business Talks is produced in Spokane, Washington by SpokaneTalksOnline.com, which is solely responsible for its content. Ask a question, recommend a guest, and hear this program again online anytime at SpokaneTalksOnline.com. Business Talks is brought to you in part by STCU. Business Talks wishes you good business and a good day.